All right, good morning. Welcome to a new semester of data science and big data analytics here at the University of the Cumberlands. This is an 8-week format, and this is the course welcome and overview for week 1. So, I am your host and professor, Dr. Donald Walker, Doctor of Computer Science, but I'll go into my background a little bit and tell you a little bit more about what we'll cover this course, and then actually talk a little bit about the course content. But mostly this will be about setting objectives and describing the next 8 weeks that we'll spend together. It flies by. You'll really want to get in early. Yeah, textbooks, there are none. All the readings will be assigned journal articles that are available at the university library, and of course, your own research depending on your level of comfort with the topic. Okay, so my background. I started out in IT in 1988 as a software developer on multi-user computers. There was a company called Digital Equipment Corporation back in the day. And so I did multi-user Oracle database applications primarily, first on digital and then on Unix. And then my career took a shift. I'm a retired Air Force officer. And in the mid 90s, when internetworking became huge, we made a shift from software developers in uniform to being more worried about setting up the network, satellite dishes and microwave links and, rolling Ethernet cable out across the desert between tents so that we could, have internet connectivity, those sorts of things. And the military has now moved on to focusing almost exclusively on cyber warfare. So it's no different than the civilian world. When technology changes, you have to change your focus. So I've got quite a bit of background in enterprise information systems as a systems integrator, web developer, database developer, IT manager. Did a lot of work getting systems certified, integrated into an enterprise architecture. I've been an IT training provider for a little while now. Training is different than education. So I've been somewhat of a corporate trainer in data analytics for a little while now. I've been in higher education since 2005, teaching information systems topics, programming, networking, those sorts of things, development life cycle. So a few things about my character. I'm helpful. If you email me, generally speaking, I check my email a couple times a day, but I've also got Outlook on my phone. So generally speaking, I'll get your questions and get them answered pretty quickly. So I am helpful. I'm also honest, which means I am frank and direct. So I don't necessarily pull punches or worry all that much about feelings and ego, as much as making improvements and getting things done. I'm pretty energetic. I got a lot of stuff going on, pretty hardworking. I'll get your feedback done earlier than most faculty members, I think you'll find. I tend to be very precise in my speech and in my thinking. And when I read your work, when I read your discussion posts and your papers, I read each word and I look for precision. I look for the accurate use of words. I look for um, proper organization, for the proper use of industry terminology, precise use of the language. Um, and so that may be a challenge. I know most of you are not native English speakers, um, but that's the expectation. This is a PhD level program from the University of the Cumberlands in Kentucky, USA. So that's what we go for. I'm also very friendly. I've got friends across the country from my military career and business colleagues. So I hold my friends very near and dear, and I've been in a position of trust, whether it's faculty or a top secret security clearance in the U.S. military. If you can trust me, which also means you can trust me to be honest with you regarding your feedback, and it also plays into my character um, when it comes to academic honesty and presenting your own thoughts originally and avoiding the plagiarism nightmare that plagues this program. Um, I'm not particularly understanding or sympathetic or empathetic. I work hard. I stay ahead of things. I expect you to. If I was ever late in any of my assignments, I took my lumps. In this program, it's so fast. Late assignments are not accepted. So if you have a bad week, I'm sorry. Get started on Monday. Pretend everything is due on Friday. Don't wait for the weekend. Which I realize happens for a lot of folks. So anyway, yeah, I'm not. Don't try to appeal to me um, and my sense of mercy because I don't have one. That's pretty clear. But if you need help, man, email me. I'm there for you. Uh, okay. So the course objectives. Um, Now, why is that not showing up? There we go. Interesting. Gotta love PowerPoint. Let's see what I can do here. If I bring to front, bring to front, bring to front. Still doesn't do the formatting. Anyway, interesting PowerPointism. The course objectives um, are threefold. If you look in the syllabus, identifying concepts of big data, both the management of the data and analyzing the data, two separate issues. Competent in recognizing challenges faced by applications dealing with very large volumes of data. And this is mainly needing either your own, Spark cluster or one of the cloud-based um, scalable databases, elastic databases like BigQuery. Okay, and be able to understand how big data impacts business intelligence, scientific discovery, and our day-to-day life. Okay, so these are the three course objectives as stated in the syllabus. Couple of points I want to make. The first is the line between data and big data is not clear, and for whatever reason, we make no mention of data, just good old fashioned data. And to me, this has become somewhat of a buzzword. I'll hear people talk about being a big data developer, big data analyst, and they're just analysts. They're just a data analyst. I mean, nothing, not really. You know what I mean? If you're no kidding, you're working with petabytes in Spark or some other Hadoop, um, then okay, all right. But there's just a lot of uh, um, just buzzwords, where you hear people calling themselves data scientists, and they're not. They're just data analysts. And you hear people talking about big data, and it's just data. Um, so anyway, there you go. But you will also see virtually every week research and dissertation um, preparation materials posted by my supervisor, our program chair, Dr. Steve Brown. So, depending on where you are in the program, actually, you know, irrespective of where you are in the program, you should watch those dissertation preparation and research fundamentals um, courses or videos, because your time in your coursework, like this course, is going to go really fast, and then you're going to be sitting there looking at 120-page paper that you're going to have to write. Um, so and it's going to have to make sense. There's formatting, and there's certain things to cover, and yeah. So the more prepared you are for that journey when you get there, the better off you'll be. And if you have any questions on what it's like getting through a dissertation, you're welcome to email me. My dissertation is out there on the ProQuest Theses and Dissertations Global Database. Not too hard to find. Um, so yeah, that's a second thing, a second theme you'll see going along here. Beside the coursework is just a general preparation to be a researcher, because the PhD isn't just another master's degree, and a dissertation isn't just a thesis where you get to regurgitate information. It's a research project. You will have to formulate, justify, conduct, and report a research project, which is great fun, but it can be a little intimidating if you're not prepared. But you will notice here that blockchain is not mentioned in the course objectives, because there's a blockchain major, but there are no blockchain courses. So they kind of glued blockchain into several of our courses. So I'm not a blockchain guy. I'm okay with data analysis, data science, analytics, databases, data kind of stuff, but I'm not a blockchain guy. But I'm getting there. But the last half of the course and the largest assignment of the course is on blockchain, actually. So there you go. If you thought you were taking a pure data analytics or data analysis, big data course, you are not. So the assignments for this course, you will have 5 100-point research papers. You will have a discussion post, 25-point discussion post every week. And I have specific expectations about discussion posts. My discussion boards are not like everyone else's. Please listen. Okay, more on that in a little bit. Practical connection activity. This is something you do every semester at University of the Cumberlands. This one is due in week 5, which is right after we shift from data analysis and into blockchain. So any application of blockchain will be theoretical. You'll have to look at the syllabus and see what topics are being covered. And if that applies to your professional life, good, that's fine. You can talk about it as a future topic. But this is where you connect this course's content with your professional world. So it's very personal. It's like a one-page letter, a one-page note from you to me. But I give a lot of zeros on this. It's worth 10% of your grade, but I would say 20%. I wind up giving a zero because students turn in a practical connection from a previous assignment, a previous course, which I expect this to be 100% original. Maybe your job duties, a quick 3-4 sentences at the beginning. But basically, it needs to be original. And some people just they make they lie. They will talk about they learned enough R programming to revolutionize processes where they work, and it's just not true. So that usually winds up being either 100 points or zero, depending on, beg your pardon, depending on whether you take the assignment seriously or try to fake it. And the final is a big paper on blockchain. 200 points, your final project. So please read the syllabus. You are not allowed to plagiarize yourself too much. 20% of any assignment can be reused and repurposed if you put that on your title page. You have to declare, and I give you the format in the syllabus. But if you plagiarize yourself and don't let me know that it's reused or repurposing, that's no different, according to the university standards, that's no different than plagiarizing some other author. But the main thing is you need practice. You need practice. So write originally, and you should be fine. Okay. So I posted a video that I recorded quite a while ago now, a couple years ago. Academic writing for systems engineers. And what that video does is give you my expectations of how you should be writing. And if you're not writing that way, and it's not it's not clear, you're not going to like the results. So watch the video. It's nothing unique to me. It's junior high school, middle school academic writing. Create an outline and write originally. That's the gist of it. But watch it. Please watch that video. And even in the syllabus, no late assignments, and please don't even ask me. Do not ask me to resubmit an assignment. I'll consider it harassment because my policy is no do-overs. You got that? Somebody will ask me for a do-over, guaranteed. Okay, now here comes the big problem at University of the Cumberlands, and that is plagiarism and rewording somebody else's writing. Rewording, where you take someone's exact text and change a few words around, but you leave the structure and everything of their writing. That's plagiarism. And you can argue with the staff if I tell you that's plagiarism. I I've got no tolerance for it. If you've been with the university for a few semesters, you know what we're talking about. But it's an ongoing struggle. I'll give you an example, but we have these websites out there, paraphrasing websites or article spinners, they're called. Um, they they pump out transmutated, translated, mutated English um, that is grammatically correct. Generally, you'll have the subjects where subject, verb, noun, all that. It reads grammatically correct, but it also reads like an article spinner, um, and it'll result in a zero. If I see what I perceive to be article spinner output, if it doesn't, if I read your discussion posts or your papers, and I even get a hint or suspect that you are not writing each word and choosing each word deliberately, intentionally, precisely, I'll just give you a zero. It's just, and I mean, there's still time to drop the course, right? But uh, this is not an uncommon expectation. Write your own material. Okay, so first offense, get a zero for the assignment. Second offense, I submit your name and you get a zero for the course. Third offense, I'm told you get dismissed from the program. Haven't been privy to that yet. But the the key, folks, is to just write originally. Just write your own stuff. And I go into that in another video in week 1 here. The word endnote demo. The key to success is to learn enough about the topic that you get thoughts in your head that you can write from a clean slate. You can write originally. You're not cutting and pasting or looking at and retyping, somebody else's words. You get the material in your head so that you're comfortable enough to talk about it or write about it. That's the key. And if you're not doing that, you're not giving the program enough time, and that's how you get into trouble. Okay? So just write your own stuff. All right. Don't cut and paste and then work on it. I had a student tell me that. Oh, I pasted it into my paper and I'm still working on it. That's plagiarism. Write your own stuff. Okay. It's not paraphrasing to go in and change somebody else's words. It's cheating. Write your own material. And whatever you do, don't try and pass out something you found on the internet as your own. If I see you doing that in class discussion, I'll confront you privately. If you see somebody post something in class discussion that just sounds like something from the internet, Google it. If you see that it's on the internet, hold your classmates accountable, just like we do in academia, just like we do in research. If somebody publishes something as their own work publicly in academia, and it's not their own work, and it's something that they pulled from somewhere else, you would get lit on fire. You would be demolished by your colleagues. So get used to it. Start doing it here in the classroom. Generally, discussions should be collegial. It should be friendly. You should be bouncing ideas off of each other, just like you would at work. But I see way too much at the University of Cumberland's where someone will post nonsense, article spinner nonsense, or something that's just cut and pasted straight from the internet. And another person will say, "Oh, that's a great post." Well, no, you should have. If I saw it, you should see it. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Uh, and uh, and I won't hesitate. You got to remember, going back to my background, I am trustworthy. I have never committed plagiarism. I wrote everything for my doctorate originally, and I expect the same from you. Okay, so a paraphrasing website output. This is typical of what I'm talking about. It's kind of small, but I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. Here, let me do slideshow from current slide. See if you can see that a little bigger from current slide. Hopefully you're still seeing this. Okay, so I wrote the top paragraph for my doctorate. Okay, and then I submitted this just to get a before and after. I submitted this to paraphrasing-tool.com. And the bottom paragraph is the output from that article spinner. Okay, so um, the first thing that I'm seeing is, the top paragraph was part of a literature review. This paper reviews the literature. Okay, so literature review is the word. That's the buzzword. That's what we call this thing, a literature review. We don't call it a writing survey. We don't call it an article summary. We call it a literature review. And that's all through academic writing, right? So the first clue that this is article spinner output is that it says this paper surveys the writing. No. And when I read that, this paper surveys the writing. That's not what we say. That's not what we say. And then over here, the other part of this first line here, I say a particular type of user group. We've all heard of user groups, right? There's a Python user group where I live. There's a C# user group where I live. A particular sort of client bunch. No one goes to the Python client bunch meeting. Okay, they go to the Python user group meeting. Okay, so there's any number of things like this. One of the things will get you a zero the quickest is when I see the term large information. That's what article spinners like to call big data. The industry term is big data. You don't see 1,000 journal articles on large information. You see 1,000 journal articles on big data. Okay, so don't do it. Don't do it. Don't use other people's content, because whether you're submitting it to the article spinner or you're finding it online, most of the stuff you see online from University of Cumberland's is garbage. From Course Hero or study.com, most of that is garbage. Article spinner, poorly written. You have no idea on Course Hero what grade that person got or if the assignment has changed. Okay, so just don't. Just don't. This is the main thing. If people would in this course will just be honest and hardworking, I can almost guarantee you'll get an A. But zeros pile up quick, and after the second one, you fail the whole course. And that'll probably mess up your plan, right? So anyway, just write your own stuff. Write it from your brain, not from something you're reading or something you cut and pasted. Okay, now I did warn you earlier that I have particular expectations regarding discussion boards, right? Okay, so first couple of things are easy. Get your posts in by Thursday night at midnight, and then uh, make up your mind. Walker, is it 3 or 2? It's 2 now. That's old. Reply to 2 students or me um, by Saturday night at midnight. So really, each discussion board it's only 3 posts. Okay. Same rules for plagiarism as with assignments. If something sounds super perfect and I drop it into Google and you cut and pasted it from a blog or something somewhere, you get a 0, and that's a plagiarism offense. So you do that twice and you fail the course. Type your own stuff. And mostly the difference in discussion boards is this is not your discussion boards are not academic papers. Yes, you need to support what you're saying with references, um, but use professional but personal language when when we are reading your posts. Uh, the whole thing should sound like something you would say at work in the conference room or in the break room talking about a work topic. Not just the first sentence. A lot of students will put that. I thought your post was great and it was very informative. I want to add a few points, and then just garbage. Stuff you found on the internet, stuff we all know, stuff that didn't add anything. You didn't add anything to the conversation. You're just filling the square. Uh, I don't grade those well, and the lack of points adds up quickly. It's 25 points a week. So if I give you 5 points on it, real quick, there goes your A. Use professional but personal language. So in your academic papers, you normally avoid I. You don't really, talk about I collected data and I came to these findings in a paper. But in class discussion, read this. I encourage them in class discussion. Your discussion posts should read exactly like something you would say. So if you're just posting random additional thoughts that you found on the internet somewhere, it's not going to go well. You should actually be discussing the topics with each other, asking questions, um, giving your insights from work or your reading or what you saw on the news or what have you. So I look for these to be real. That's just like the aforementioned plagiarism challenge. Don't fake it. Don't. These are not fake discussions. That if you think you're going to get a grade, I try to stay consistent. Um, so yeah. All right. Post first feature. You will probably be looking at a blank until you post your own response. That's to avoid when you don't have that, people copy each other's replies. Seen it. So that's why we do that. Now here's some more expectations. Here is an example of unacceptable. Okay, it's just an example. Greetings, colleague, or greetings, Jim. Your post is full of wisdom, and you are obviously an expert. Which these over the top, warm and fuzzy comments, just take up space. Just say, hey, I like your post. What do you think about something else? You don't have to go spend 3 sentences reiterating what somebody else said and how much you liked it and how great they are. Okay. Um, Yeah, it was well. And then I want to add some points to your post. No, no, I want to add some points to your post. No, 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 don't add some points and then blah, 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 blah. Don't do it. Ask them a question. Tell them, you know, uh, what what about their post you thought was informative. Be specific. Ponder some questions. Talk about how it relates to something you learned at work. If they're unclear on a certain point, you're welcome to ask them to clarify. But no, don't do the I want to add some points or anything like that. Nothing like that. Okay. Uh, we'll see if I can be successful um, this semester. Because when you add a few points, it's insulting. You're lecturing your classmates when you do that. Please don't lecture your classmates. Please discuss with them. If you want to share something you know from work, great. Or something you learned in a course somewhere, great. Say it that way. The tone of your writing tells me if you're being real or not. So there you go. And if somebody posts something that is perfect, Google it. And like I said, hold each other accountable. If you see somebody posting something that you found on the internet, you should let them know, and you should let me know, and you should be mortified. If somebody cuts and pastes something from the internet, you should be insulted because you're paying good money to be here. You're working hard, and you shouldn't have your time wasted by a cheater. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So there you go. So that should take pressure off of you. I'm looking for just your thoughts, supported by an academic article or two, which, like I said, should take some of the pressure off. All right. Expectations for APA format. My expectations are pretty low. It's required for papers. Please include a title page, a reference page, and double space your paragraphs. Use section headings for organization, and always indent each paragraph APA form. Just basic APA. That's all I look for. Every citation should have a reference on the reference page, and every reference that you list needs to have at least one citation. I'll get you there. There are lots of examples, templates, and references in the getting started folder, and in different parts of the course. So you'll be inundated with great information. So use APA format, but I don't need a separate in discussions, but I don't need a separate reference page. Just put them at the bottom. Put a little header, that says references at the bottom. And I don't I don't need a title page in a discussion post. And in your papers, please, no abstract, no table of contents. They're just too short. They're really short papers. So yeah, concentrate on the meat of the assignment. And you will also see another video at the bottom of your week 1 folder that is a demonstration of bibliographic software called EndNote that integrates with your word processor so that you can very easily cite an article within your writing. And I give an example of, a demonstration of that software, but I also do an example of paraphrasing what it means to cite a source. Um, yeah, when you cite a source, it needs to be a major point within their paper. Um, we'll get into that a little bit more throughout the course, but some folks will cite an article that has nothing to do with what they're writing, and it's fake. They're faking it. So I will occasionally ask you in your paper feedback to email me and explain something. So yeah, we'll get into that here. Some general expectations. If you're trying to do this in a couple of hours a week, which I've had a student openly admit, 2 hours a week, it ain't happening. Uh, Generally per course, it's more like 12 to 15 hours, maybe more, probably more in the 8-week format. So yeah, if you're trying to do this with minimal effort, I wish you luck. Um, if you're that efficient and capable, but generally speaking, it won't work for you. So be ready to dig in. Um, yeah, dig in and give it a lot of effort. I check my email certainly daily, but multiple times throughout the day. I make sure I'm not leaving you hanging. So here, answer my emails within 24 hours max. And if I ask a challenging question in your feedback, answer it. And if you get a 0 or a really low score, don't apologize. I get assignments every semester that people have kind of downloaded from Course Hero, and it's off track. Um, it does not follow my prescribed technique in academic writing for systems engineers, which is to answer the question. You've got to follow the instructions. Don't ask for a do-over. I'm very upfront with what I'm looking for, and it's only through a lack of effort or a lack of um, leaning into the course that you get into trouble. Please ask questions. I get so few email questions. I reach out, and if you need, I work from home on my computer. I'm everything I do is in information technology, education, and training now. I work for a nonprofit as my main vocation now. So I'm on my computer a lot. We can set up a Zoom session and go over something if you need to. Monitor your feedback. Okay. You should be getting messages that your feedback was posted. And if you have concerns about your grade, if you thought you should have gotten a really good grade and I give you a terrible score, reach out. We can go over it. We can talk about it. You please, you are welcome to question my judgment. I know that culturally that's not necessarily something you're used to, but you should absolutely feel comfortable asking me why I made a comment that I made or why I gave you a grade that I gave you. And I would go round and round and round until you understand. Okay, and there's a lot of great information out on the internet. Okay, some of that information is study sites that specifically mention ITS836 at the University of Cumberland, and there's papers uploaded. I've got an account on Course Hero. I would encourage you to not even access those websites. Um, I mean, you'll see information out on blogs, posts, and white papers and stuff that's kind of outside of the academic journal articles, and those are great to read. Read them. Get up on the topic. Get the terminology in your head of what we're talking about and how things work, and that's great. But but those study sites aren't that. That's not information. That's a source of something a previous student turned in that may or may not have gotten a decent grade at all. That's probably already in the institutional database, right? So Turnitin is gonna light up like a Christmas tree. So don't even go to them. I was told previously there were 37 students um, had to fail the course. So we'll see. And finally, get started with each week early. I usually post the next week's lecture and open up the discussion and everything on Sunday. Well, I apologize if there was a break in service there. Internet crashed for a second there. Anyway, yeah, get started early each week. And if you have any questions at all, email me early. We'll sometimes get questions on the weekend, and I may be working in the yard or something, and I don't get the email in time to really be any help. So please look at the week's material, watch the video first thing, and then let me know if you need any help. Okay, this first week 1 to-do list. Complete the plagiarism pledge, not the quiz. Submit your plagiarism pledge, and please, when you're reading it, please take it to heart. If you've ever turned it in before and went, yeah, whatever, please, if for no other professor, for me, read that pledge and take it seriously. There's an introductory post to introduce yourselves. Normally, I can tell who's going to do well in the course by their introduction. If you say, your name and where you live, 2 sentences, and you do it on Saturday night or Sunday night, generally speaking, you can tell those students are going to struggle because they're not engaged. So, and then we have a particular data science project to discuss the 3F methodology. So on that one, on the 3F methodology, well, I'm going to go into a little more detail here. And then, make sure you go to the Start Here link on the course homepage. There's a lot of material there. It's repeated every semester, but make sure you take a look, especially if you're new. Okay, so this week 1 discussion, I want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, this 3F method is an interesting article, but don't get the impression that this is some groundbreaking research project. Okay, if you go into Google Scholar, Google Scholar will tell you how often something has been cited by something else, and I don't believe the 3F method has been cited by anyone. So please don't talk about it as if it's fantastically wonderful. That's not the point. Briefly discuss the purpose of it and how it's calculated. But I want you, the university wants you to perform your own research analysis on uh, uh, big data and cloud computing, um, the skills gap, and then provide your own assessment. So I should be able, when I'm looking at your discussion post, I should be able to see a very brief introduction paragraph that talks about the 3F method article. But then the bulk of what you have to say should be your own research and provide your own assessment on whether the United States need to introduce top talents in the field of big data and cloud computing. Now, it says here in the instructions by using bibliometrics, which is just looking at keywords in articles and whatnot. And like I said, that 3F method isn't so groundbreaking that it should limit the way you look at things. So if you want to use like Department of Labor data or some other article written by someone in the industry that talks about the skills gap and the need to introduce top talents, or you could even discuss like how many people are majoring in like liberal arts, compared to information technology, in the United States, though. Please focus on the U.S. But if you want to contrast that, to India, or if some of you are hail from a different country, you're welcome to contrast that with back home. So the main thing I want you to do is don't fixate on that 3F method article, because we all read that article. We don't need 18 different assessments and praises of that article. Okay. Provide your own assessment of the talent gap, and let us know what you think. And then when you reply to each other, talk about it, discuss it like normal. Don't add a few points. Talk to each other, share opinions, share observations, share experience, ask questions. Okay. So I did want to go into week one objectives. And if you look at this, this is the week one objectives, not according to the syllabus. The syllabus doesn't go into this level of detail, but the course at the top of the week one folder. So I at least wanted to say a few sentences about each of these, but I could do a separate lecture on all of these. Okay. So there's just no way. But anyway, big data in computing. That's you really need to find a good article that discusses the five that started out with three V's. And I'm going from memory here: variety, velocity, and volume of big data. So that was the original seminal around 2008. Was the original article kind of defining what big data is, and that has been expanded to a generally accepted five V's, and we get fixated on this mnemonic. It's just funny how people latch on to buzzwords. But I think they added the veracity, which is a V word that means trustworthiness of the data. Big data comes in huge volumes, which is just, that's why you need something like Spark or Hadoop to manage, petabytes of data just as a platform. But it also comes in different varieties. You got video, you got structured text, JSON files, you got timestamp data. Did I say video? Video, audio. You've got social media data. You got cell phone usage data. Google and Apple are collecting all kinds of data, let alone, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot. Anyway, there's all kinds of different data formats and ways to merge that data in, figure out who it came from, assign some level of um, authentication or ownership of that data. Anyway, yeah, look, if you're not familiar with big data, if you're a software developer and you never really gave it a give it a read, so that you're familiar with what big data and computing. Now, you don't have to do this week. By the end of the week, you should be able to, but there's no assignment to do any of this stuff. So I'm just talking about it so that we have at least talked about the weekly objectives. Explain cloud computing in practical environments. And this is something that if you can't explain something to your grandmother, you probably don't understand it. And that's an oversimplification, but you understand the the um, the intent of the saying. And I've heard like Albert Einstein be credited with saying that. Um, so cloud computing, you should be, what it is. And if I would say 10 years ago, this was um, something new, but I think, good grief, I think everybody knows cloud computing. If you're in IT, so the whole scalability, elasticity, you don't have to back things up anymore. Um, uh, you don't have to worry about things like heat and temperature and air conditioning and current anymore. You just let the provider worry about that. Um, but there, it brings in concerns of security. But generally speaking, I think, man, everybody's going to the cloud. You're just not seeing companies building new data centers. There are people that are having trouble letting go of their data center. But a lot of times you'll see hybrid approaches where anything new is going on Google Cloud Platform or Azure or whatever. But there's still this legacy, databases and sometimes application platforms that are still on traditional infrastructure. And it's just tough. It's tough to make the cut over. Um, yeah, one of the articles you'll read this week is research in IoT and cloud computing, and um, uh, I mean, IoT generally is the source of all this data. It's the smartphones and the smartwatches and the pacemakers and all the different sensors in healthcare analytics, which is another thing we'll get into next week. And it's the ring cameras in your house, and it's the traffic cameras out on the streets, and there's just so many devices now are internet accessible. Good grief, refrigerators. I mean, it's um, huge. That's responsible for the big data explosion. So there's some articles in those sorts of things, and then describe social data analysis. That could be its own course. So yeah. Anyway, in case any of you weren't aware, and I'm sure you are, uh, um, you know, Facebook and YouTube and whatnot, they are analyzing our keyword searches, websites we go to, the things we like or don't like, the nature of our social networks and what common attributes they can come to your social network. Um, yeah, this is all being fed into machine learning algorithms, and it's used mostly for advertising, but hey, hard to say what else this social data is being used for. Um, but anyway, yeah, how big data is used in social networks? Yeah, to mostly to advertised to you. But as we saw in the there's several documentaries about the 2016 election. It can be used, um, the data mining to kind of get an idea of who you are. It can feed fake content to you, suggest fake friends. Um, we saw in 2016 the Cambridge Analytics, um, affecting a political outcome. And before that, the Arab Spring was something we watched happen, um, using social media analysis, um, back when the revolution in like Egypt and Libya, and I think even Morocco had some tumult, and then Syria. A lot of that was planned and executed on social media, and there was some folks inside and outside of government, kind of watching that all happen. So yeah, and then research in social networking. I did my dissertation in research in social networking. I did it as workplace social networking, called enterprise social networking, which is tools like SharePoint and Yammer and Slack, to some extent, HubSpot. Salesforce has a little bit of a social component to it. Seems like a lot of companies are buying other companies. I think maybe Salesforce bought Slack. Anyway, uh, in looking at using social networking tools to communicate, um, at work versus email or um, one-way broadcast memos from the boss kind of thing. Looking more at the flat, fast, um, collaborative organization using social media. So there's all kinds of stuff at work, and the way social networking tools are used, and social networking addiction, and social networking in politics. It's the sky is the limit now. So yeah, lots of good material this week, but we cram so much into these 8-week courses, that it's tough to cover it all. So in conclusion, uh, you'll see my professional background in my instructor link. Read the syllabus. Policies are in there. Again, I have absolutely no tolerance for any sort of plagiarism in any form. Write your own stuff. Let me know what you think, what you know, what you have found. So don't feel pressure to sound smart or write. I had one student, I just want to write at the PhD level. Well, you're not a PhD. And what does that mean? PhDs, generally writing at the PhD level, means you're very clear and you use very precise, accurate terminology. If you think the output of an article spinner from something sounds like writing like a PhD, you're wrong. Okay. So I look forward to collegial discussion, which means be real with each other. Okay. Don't just check the box by adding a few points. I want to add a few points. Please, please, I'm begging you. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns, please email me. Okay. And I do apologize for my internet going out halfway through the lecture. Hopefully I can splice them together and it won't be too terrible.